Alright, I need to apologize in advance. This video is going to be a little bit rambly. It's a lot of my personal opinion. I have to preface this with saying I enjoy this game and I really want to enjoy the new content that 2 Weeks is putting out for it. I have been desperately trying to enjoy this new dungeon, but this may not be the most positive video. Specifically, my opinions here or my frustrations reside entirely with the normal mode version of this dungeon. And it's not just the difficulty that's bothering me, it's the design goals that feel a little bit contradictory. I'm just not really understanding who this dungeon is for. I understand that players like a challenge. I understand that people want hard content. But there is a game mode in Guild Wars, a mode of play called hard mode. And that is where the hard content should live. They have been making attempts to make this dungeon a little bit easier. They've made good strides. They removed the elite skills from the normal mode and moved them to hard mode. They did a couple of other tweaks, and this has made the original questline of getting Althea much easier. You don't die so quickly. But the repeat version, the scaled version of this dungeon, ramps up that difficulty really quickly. And it's not so much difficulty, it's more tedium. The ghosts are tanky and they sponge up a lot of damage, and they just take a while to get through, and then they can kind of gang up on you because you're taking too long to get through them. So here's what I expected from this dungeon. I wanted to solo this with heroes. I played the pre-searing dungeon over and over and over again with players. And players want to move at their own speed. I expected to do the pre-searing dungeon with just Divana, but that wasn't really possible. They bumped up the player count to 4. I get it. Maybe the intention was for it to be with players. I wasn't the most excited about that, but that's something I could put up with because the scaling in that dungeon replaced the experience grind of Farmer Hamnet, so it became an option that you could opt into to get better experience and to get some pretty good rewards. For this dungeon, I wanted to play it slowly, strategically. I wanted to bring my heroes. I wanted to level up my heroes in there. I wanted to progress and earn some gear and get them better over time. I wanted repeatable, casual content. And I expected to eventually work towards the hard mode in the dungeon. I didn't expect to be able to click hard mode and go, but I thought maybe I could work in normal mode to build up my gear and then work towards hard mode. I was excited to finally be able to take that content at my own pace. I am not a top tier player. I don't have super awesome gear right now. This is not my main. I am not putting Reforged badge on my main, so this character is lacking in the gear department, in the skills department, in the heroes department. It's lacking a whole lot, but it's not lacking so much that I feel like I'm truly at a hindrance here. My builds are imperfect, but they're functional. It's not just like a crappy slop of skills. I tried a bunch of variations. I went in with my Melandru's character who was super restricted on skills. Then I tried this character on some pretty janky builds, thinking I could just kind of force my way through. Then I looked up some builds. I went on to PvWiki and I looked up a 3-hero balanced team. This composition works for hard mode content and is particularly effective in Winds of Change hard mode. I'm even going to ping the link to that build in the description. I understand it's a little bit defensive of a build, but I thought, okay, this will definitely get me through. It's good for hard mode. Wasn't working. Again, I don't have the top tier gear. I get it. I really need to spend some money and time getting them geared up, but I was hoping to do that in this dungeon. So I eventually got to a pretty good place with my build. I have an E-Surge Mesmer, an SOS Heal Writ, an Ineptitude Mesmer, just cuz, and I've got a Vow of Strength, my build's Vow of Strength, which should, in theory, it's a melee build too. I've heard this dungeon is not so great with casters and better with melee. This should really get me through a lot easier, but I was still running into all of these problems. It takes a very long time to get through, and then the ghosts gang up on me, and I'm dead. I have a rough time. These heroes have decent weapons. Their quality's okay, but they're not the worst. And for normal mode, this should absolutely be enough. The real problem here is that it's not challenging so much either. It's exhausting. The ghosts feel miserable to fight. They're incredibly tanky. Their healing outpaces my damage a lot. The fights drag on forever. The combat feels tedious instead of strategic. And I'm not constantly dying all the time, but I will die if they gang up on me. But everything just becomes a slog, and all I want to do is run past it. Enemies aren't worth fighting. Level 2 of the dungeon has no meaningful barriers. Like, there's no boss lock, there's no dungeon key, there's no elemental crystal or anything like that. You could just run right through the second floor and get to the next level. It's almost encouraging you not to deal with the ghosts in there. The scaling is giving me mixed signals too. Scaling implies that this is replayable progression content. It's signaling to me that I could come here with my level 12 character and work towards level 20 in here. That feels similar to the pre-searing dungeon philosophy, and maybe it's intended as an XP leveling route, you know, something you could take to level up if you just want to hang out here for a while. But the gameplay experience does not support that at all. So I'm left confused as to who this dungeon's actually for. Is this to level up your character? Doesn't seem that way. Are you supposed to come here after you finish the game and with some pretty high-end gear and work through it? It doesn't seem that way either. It seems like something you do as an endgame content, but also with scaling leveling, which is confusing. But maybe that is the intention, and maybe I'm just supposed to come here with meta-optimized builds, and maybe that's the expectation. I don't know if anybody has insight, but I checked on Toolbox. The health values don't seem overinflated or anything. They have about 480 to 500 health. I don't know, is the dungeon too high? Is there hidden damage mitigation I'm not seeing? I don't know, maybe it's just me that has this opinion, and I just need to get better at the game. Or maybe the intention here is that they wanted people to play it with each other. Maybe you're supposed to be doing this with other players. But when I go to Pike and Square, I don't see a bunch of other players asking to group up or anything like that. It feels a little bit dead. If I do see people looking for groups, it's usually speed clears or people wanting to run it in hard mode with a special runner that they've got. And maybe I'm alone in my opinion. I haven't seen a ton of discussion about this online. I'm not seeing a lot of opinions on how other people feel about it, so I'd be interested to know how anybody else feels. I mean, I have concern for the future. I think if the mobile game comes out and somebody on mobile who has already limited controls, they don't have a keyboard and mouse, comes here and tries to experience this dungeon or wants to look up the dungeon here and hears about it, and they try to take it on, they're going to be hit with a brick wall. It's a strange onboarding experience, and it doesn't match the expectations of what normal mode should be, and I'm afraid it could discourage people. I mean, I have to give credit where it's due, right? The developers have been making adjustments to this dungeon, but it's been a couple weeks. Removing the elite skills has helped, the Althea quest has improved, but the dungeon still feels overtuned. Now, what do I actually want to make this better? I don't want to make it super easy, but I do think that normal mode should feel approachable and replayable. It should just be casual, repeat dungeon runs. I should be able to do this on my Steam Deck. I should be able to do this on the couch. I should be able to experiment with builds and gradually get better gear and move on to hard mode as an aspirational thing. Hard mode can be the brutal challenge. I don't think normal mode needs to feel that exhausting. I guess I'll tie this up here. Am I alone in this? Has anybody else had a similar experience, or am I just approaching this wrong? Am I doing something wrong? I mean, I know I need to get good, get better at the game, but I am curious how other people are feeling about this. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the repeat dungeon for now. I think I'm going to end this here. Again, apologies for the maybe negative sentiment in this video. But hopefully the next one will be better. See you next time. Thanks all.